what likeness will ye compare unto him?
Morning, church. Bring you greetings from the conference office. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Jermy Garlock. I am the superintendent and associate youth director for the New York Conference. Been in that position since May 1st, so I haven't gotten around to meeting many of you yet, but I hope that gets to change and we get to be close. I like that I heard you say we'd like to have a school here, so I want to be in on that conversation. So not right now, but later, let's have that conversation. If that's something we can do, then praise God, let's make that happen. And later on in the sermon, I will give you a little bit of a hint of what we want to do with youth, because it's time for us to get marching with our youth. You know, it was youth that started the Christian movement after Jesus. It was youth that started the Advent movement after William Miller. And it will be the youth that sees it through until the end. So we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can for them. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. But first, I want to talk to you about an experience I had about 12 years ago. I was in bed. It was the middle of the night. I am a heavy sleeper. I am such a heavy sleeper that once a tree fell on our house, and my wife shook me and said, "Wake up, a tree hit our house." And I said, "You're imagining things, go back to bed." I do not wake up for anything. But you know how it is if you're a parent. Your child comes to the door, and you are awake instantly. And so, I woke up instantly, expecting to see my child at the door. I have, at that point, 3. I have a 4th now. We just completed our adoption for our 4th one a few weeks back. But at the time, we had 3. And I went to look to see who was standing at the door. Which one of the 3 would it be? When I found that I could not move. My arms were paralyzed. My legs were paralyzed. I could not move. Now, instantly people start saying, oh, you were dreaming. I beg to differ. How many of you here wear glasses? I can see you. You wear glasses. When you dream, do you dream in your messed up glasses off mode, or do you dream in perfect vision? When you dream in perfect vision. At least I do. When I have my glasses off right now, front row, I can't even see who you are. I'm clueless. In fact, standing here, Annette, if I didn't know it was you, I would have no idea. That's how bad my vision is. But I had that kind of vision, not perfect vision. So I know that I was not dreaming. I was not able to move my body, but I could move my eyes, and so my eyes glanced down towards the door, and that's what I saw. Just a shadowy figure. Blurry without my glasses, shadowy because the lights were off, standing in the doorway. Not a clue who it was. I'm thinking intruder alert. And so I began to try to move to get up to defend myself, defend my wife, but I could not move. The shadow came across the room, stood next to my bed on my side. And because there are children here that I don't want to give nightmares to, I'm not going to go into all the details. I will say this, though. He put his hands on me, and I knew that I was about to die if God didn't perform a miracle. I could not even pray out loud, but silently, without being able to even move my lips, just silently in my heart and in my head, I just prayed, Jesus, help. And instantly, the force that he was touching me with began to weaken to the point that I could move my lips and I could whisper out loud, in the name of Jesus, be gone. And instantly, it was gone. Out of the room. Out of the house. I moved, I got up, I went over, checked my wife. She's breathing, her heart's pulsing. I went to the bedroom. We only had one bedroom other than ours at the time. Went and checked on all 3 children in that one bedroom. They were all fine. I went back to my room, said a prayer of thanksgiving, and believe it or not, went back to sleep and slept like a baby. Because I knew that my God was stronger than the demon that stood at my bed that day. And I knew that if God had plans for me to die that night, it would have been done already. If Satan was going to be able to succeed in his plans, it would have been done and over with. And I went to bed, and I didn't have second thoughts of what would happen if he came back. I knew it wasn't going to happen because God had protected us. And now, if someone comes to me and they ask me, is God real? Do you believe in Satan? Do you believe in the validity of this word? I can say without a moment's hesitation, yes, yes, and yes. For it was Satan that stood by my bed. It was the name of Jesus that drove him away, just as this book says it will do. And so, if someone comes to me and says, Jeremy, do you believe that God is real? Do you believe that he's active in your life? Do you believe that the Bible is accurate? Or any other question of that nature, I can give them an totally resounding, without hesitation, heart-filled, yes, my God is alive and real. Sorry, jumped the gun there. Unfortunately, the youth primarily, but older people too, are leaving our church in large numbers. To the point that some estimates say that a child going to public schools and college, by the end of their freshman year, 90% lost. That is a huge number that we are losing, and they're leaving. And when they leave, they can have all kinds of reasons. They can talk about how the church did or did not treat them. They can talk about all kinds of stuff. But bottom line, at the end, they are saying that for whatever reason, what I am telling you is real, they don't really know if it is or not. what I'm telling you is accurate and trustworthy, for whatever reason, they're telling you they don't know that it is. And so, why believe in something that I'm not sure is accurate? Why believe in something that I'm not sure is real? And they leave. The reasons are many. I'm in the process of reading a book right now. I want to recommend it to anybody. If you know someone who is dealing with this, it's called The God Myth and Other Lies. It is written by, oh goodness, Miss Day is the last name. I'm going to forget the rest of her name. It is on Review and Herald, published just in 2014. Look it up. It's a great book. But she makes the case in that book how this world is actively trying to teach us, and our kids specifically, that this is not accurate and that God is not real. And it is very hard for that perspective to be drowned out by our perspective, because sometimes we come across as not being as sure. Remember Jesus? Always spoke in a way that his followers and the people said, wow, he speaks as one with authority. But sometimes we don't. But the other side does. So which side do you think our children are going to listen to and take as reality? You know, we have lots of evidence that this is accurate. We can go right into itself, into prophecy. We're Seventh-day Adventists. We love prophecy. We love the book of Daniel. We love the book of Revelation. We love those things, and they're good, and there's so much prophecy contained in there, things that were predicted for thousands of years in advance and came true. We don't even have to go to that type of prophecy. We can just go straight to the type of prophecy where you're looking at, well, who's going to be the Messiah, the prophecies of the Messiah in the Old Testament. A mathematician once looked at the prophecies of Jesus and said, what are the chances of someone actually living those prophecies? And he decided to take just five prophecies of the Messiah. What is the chance that one person in one lifetime could live 5 of those prophecies? And the number was so huge, I couldn't even tell you what it was. I only teach math, I don't have to know it that well. It was a huge number. So what he did was he came up with another example that we could wrap our minds around. It has to do with quarters. He said, let's say that you take a quarter, single quarter, paint it red, both sides, stick it in your pocket, put it in there. And then you go to Texas, and you fill the entire state of Texas 2 feet deep with quarters. Then you blindfold the person with the red quarter, put them in a helicopter, have them fly over Texas, and at random, whenever they want to, take out that red quarter, flick it out, let it land in the pile. Then you bring the bulldozers in. You mix it all up. Then you take somebody else, you blindfold them, you put them in Texas, and you say, walk and pick up a quarter. They can take from the top, they can take from the bottom, they can take from the middle. Any point in time that they want to, they pick up a quarter. The probability of that person picking up that red quarter is the same as one person in one lifetime living only 5 of the prophecies of Jesus. And Jesus did all of them. We have historical evidence outside of the Bible that Jesus fulfilled all of them. We have every evidence that we need to say that Jesus is real and is true, is who he claimed to be. But, for whatever reason, people don't listen. I'm a wanderer. Please forgive me, I'm going to wander. I'm also a teacher, so in a moment I'm going to ask you to wander in thought with me here. Okay? I have a question for you. In perspective and reality, why do you believe what you believe? But first, let's delve into the other side. What are reasons that you think people give for not believing in God? I had a friend of mine not that long ago come to me and say, my son, 16-year-old son, just announced he is now an atheist. And he started giving me the reasons. I said, these sound familiar. You've heard the reasons. I'm going to give you the top 8 in a minute. Let's see if you guys can give me the top 8. What are the top reasons you think people don't believe in God? Yes? No tangible physical. In other words, you can't prove God. One thing you can say. Okay. What's another reason? Yes? Crimes. Okay. Another way of saying that, why do bad things happen? Why is there suffering? Okay. Yes. Yes. Look at that. Look at this. The kids know the answers to this already. That's kind of scary. Yes. They haven't seen the Bible, okay? And no, that's very true. Sometimes we speak of things we don't know and don't understand. That is very true. Yes. Okay, so evolutionary thinking and thought process. What else? Yeah. All right, don't think he's real. Okay, that's kind of I don't believe in God just because he's not real, right? Okay. Yes. They don't see him. We'll take 3 more. Say it again. They didn't get something they wanted. They prayed for something. You know, if God was real, he would have answered that prayer. Okay? Yes. Again, something bad happened. Okay. Bible and fears of the lifestyle they think they want. I think every one of those are valid reasons. I'm not going to argue with a single one of them. I looked up online. I looked through several polls that were listed, and here are the top 8. Some of them you nailed. Number 1, evolution. More often than not, people will say that they want to separate faith from science. In a moment, I'm going to show you that I don't think those have to be separate necessarily, but that is a reason that is given. Second reason was agnosticism makes more sense. In case you don't know what agnosticism is, a very simplistic explanation of agnosticism is I believe in spirituality, but not in any given spirituality. That, you know, we can just look at spirituality as a spiritual realm kind of a thing. And in that, then I can pick and choose a little bit. I can take a little bit of Christianity, or I can take a little bit of Buddhism, or I can take a little of this, that, and the other thing. That's a very simplistic version of agnosticism, but for today's conversation, that will work. Number 3, just because. No thought, just because. I just don't want to. Okay? Believe it or not, that was number 3 of all the reasons. Just because. The way it's presented, that gets on us, guys. It's only a family tradition. You can't prove that God exists. There you go, you mentioned that one, right? The no tangible evidence. I can get along without God. I can do it just fine on my own. Thank you very much. And the last one, world religions are inconsistent. That one kind of surprised me. Not that it surprised me that someone would say that, but that it actually ranked up there above some of their own. So I was expecting maybe the one you mentioned to be up there in the top 8, you know, that I didn't get what I wanted, or why is there suffering? You hear a lot about that if you look on the internet, look at the scholarly things. But really, when polling the general population, it doesn't even make the top 8. So these are the top 8 right here. So we're going to look at some of these this morning. The ones that are now in red, we're not going to look that closely at. Why? Because they're not the thinking man's reasons. Just because. I will give you the warning that if we have a youth in our church who decides to turn away just because, there's a very strong probability that that's on us. So we never gave them a reason to think. We never gave them a reason to believe. We never challenged them to go the right way. Now, they might say just because is an excuse, but if just because is really the truly honest answer, that's on us. We didn't give it to them the way that they needed to. The way it's presented, that's on us too. I can tell you story after story after story of well-intentioned young people who were going into church to try to find Jesus, and the people turned them away. Now, I don't know anything about your church. I couldn't tell you if that's ever happened, never happened. I don't know. But if that happens, that's on us. Or it's only a family tradition, that's on us and on the families. Okay, so we're just going to acknowledge that that's on us, and that if that is the case, if you know you are having people leave your church and these are the reasons given, you just know that's on you. We got to do a better job. We're not going to focus anymore on that. Okay, so cross those off. We're done. The ones that are now in blue, these are more thinking people's reasons. We may agree or disagree with their thoughts, but it's thinking people's reasons now, okay? And there's things that we might be able to discuss about that. These are more your scientific reasons, evidence-based reasons, and then you have the ones that are in green that are more philosophical reasons. But whether you're looking at philosophy, whether you're looking at science, these are the ones that people will look at, and they may believe they have a valid argument, okay? So let's take a look at those real quick. Just to remind you, talking about quarters again. In every one of those thought processes, there are 2 sides to a coin. And I think sometimes we get looking too much at heads and too much at tails, and we forget to look at the material in between. For example, evolution. People who are evolutionists look at the exact same material creationists look at and come up with two polar opposite different ideas. Two sides of the same coin. Why? I think it comes down to our perspectives. For example, not the greatest picture in the world. What do you see? Yes? You see rocks. Good. What do you see? Stones and rocks. Okay. What else? What do we see here? Yes. Okay. Now we're getting some science stuff. We see erosion happening in there. Yes. I think you see moss. Yes. You can see a little bit there, a little bit there. Let me tell you what this is. If you look at this whole thing here and this whole part there, yes, those are rock layers. All right? Do you know what this thing is right here? It's a petrified tree. That was a tree that the rock layers have formed around. Now, depending on your metaphysical stance, woo, big word, okay, depending on your basic beliefs of how things work, your foundational understandings, you will look at this and you will see totally different things, okay? This is argument number one. Reason number one people give, evolution, right? Evolution versus creationism. Now, according to Colossians 1, verses 16 and 17, Jesus made everything. And everything was made by him. So if you are coming with that foundational principle, you're going to look at this, and here's what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, if all these rock layers, each layer, 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer, 4, if every layer took millions of years to form, then how was a tree, how was a tree, no, go backwards, hello, go backwards. How was a tree able to be there for that long for the rock layers to go around? And a creationist with that bottom line foundation is going to look at this, and they're going to say, biblical evidence, creation. I'm sorry, I'm hitting buttons all over the place here. However, if you are an evolutionist, you're going to look at that and have a very different perspective. And the key to this is to realize that neither side are filled with a bunch of idiots. Neither side are filled with people who can't think, but they come at it with a completely different perspective, bottom line perspective. What about reason number two? The idea, evidence reason number two, that you can't prove him. There's no physical evidence that you can't see him. What do you see there? Yes, ma'am. Looks like lasers. They look kind of cool, right? Lasers? Yes. Blue lines. Yes. It looks like an atom. The man got it. It's an atom. I love that the kids are talking. Yay. It's an atom. How many of you have seen an atom before in real life? How many of you have seen a proton in real life? Let me put it that way. Or a single electron, not an electron cloud, a single electron. Or a single neutron. How many people alive today do you think has seen that? Nobody. No human being ever. Now, we've seen clusters, we've seen electron clouds, we've seen some stuff, but as far as a proton itself, a single proton, a single electron, no person has ever seen one, but do we believe they exist? Yes. Why? Because scientists put it to the test. Right? They say, if there is such a thing as a proton or a neutron or electron, an atom, then if we do this, then this will happen. And they make a test. And when the test is concluded, they can look and they can say, just as we thought. It behaved just the way we thought, therefore, or it didn't behave at all the way we thought, so we're totally wrong, or a mixed bag. But in any case, they make a test, the results come, and they can verify or debunk their thought process. Well, Hebrews 11:1 says that faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see. A scientist is sure that this exists because they were able to put it to the test. And the Bible tells us that we need to put God to the test in specific ways. Now, he's not, it is different. Let's not get confused, it is different. But God says, for example, in Malachi, prove me now in this, if I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing. If you are faithful in this, I will do this. If you do this, I will do that. How many conditional promises are there